What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It's time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych. Still dealing with the cold, but about 1,000 times better than I was the other night when we were recording Skeleton Crew. So it's slowly making its way through the body, and I'm feeling more energetic and ready to go. And that finale of Creature Commandos certainly provided me with the energy I needed as well. Joining me today, no Damon, he got called into work, but thankfully we have another bearded expert of the comic book genre joining us today, Richard Nebens. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me, TJ. And real quickly before we get going, shout out to everybody in California right now. Obviously with the fires and everything down there, my family's all safe, thank goodness. But I know we've got a couple of Californians out in Agents of Fandom, and I live down there for most of my life, so it's home to me. So I just want to shout out everybody down there dealing with the fires and everything. Please stay safe and do what you can to take care of your families. But thrilled to be here, happy to be talking Creature Commandos, and it's good to see everybody again.
Couldn't agree more. Shout out to everybody dealing with the LA fires right now. Hopefully you're able to get safe. Hopefully your family's safe. Such a terrible, scary situation going on there right now. So we are thinking about all of you. We are praying in each of our own ways, and we're hoping that everything is going to be all right. On a more positive note, I want to switch into another edition of Whatcha, Watchin. You know, I don't have much new from when I did this on Tuesday. I haven't progressed in my Mission Impossible marathon yet. I've still been playing just an absolute ton of Marvel Rivals, but I'm excited I'm in this. I do this fantasy football podcast that I produce with some really great guys: Dean Shavelson, Rich Rebar, John Daigle, Rob Coakley, who's actually been a guest on the show a few times. And every week we have a little daily fantasy competition where the winner of whoever picks a team that scores the most, they get to pick a movie for us to watch for the week. And then we all review it at the end of the football podcast. And I've been hot lately. I got them all to watch Tick, Tick, Boom 2 weeks ago. I won again. So we just reviewed The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent on the last one. And then I won again. So for the final podcast, the final one of the football season, we are going to be reviewing The Wild Robot, one of my favorite movies of this year. So that's kind of been occupying some of my watching time. But other than that, it's been a whole lot of Marvel Rivals. If you like Marvel Rivals, you want to hear us talk about it more, you can check out our interview with John Bailey, voice of Jeff the Land Shark, epic voice guy, on the Agents of Fandom YouTube page. So hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you can check out that one on our YouTube page or wherever you get your podcasts. Rich, what have you been watching?
And again, shout out to you guys for getting John Bailey. That was an incredible interview. I sat through most of that with you guys, and he is one of my favorites out there. Like you've been, keeping up with a lot of stuff we got to watch for work. Obviously, Creature Commandos. I've been going through a Marvel Netflix rewatch in prep for Daredevil Born Again, which has been a lot of fun. I think I'm on Iron Fist season 1, which I like more than most people, but it's obviously one of the weaker seasons of when you're looking at the entire realm of the Marvel Netflix shows. But that's been a lot of fun. Hoping to get a couple more seasons in before I go on a very big and very much looking forward to vacation in a few weeks, which part of that is San Diego Comic-Con on a cruise, which is going to be absolutely unbelievable. I'll probably talk about more about that a little later. But yeah, a little bit of Marvel Netflix. I've been playing some 2K as usual, keeping up with Creature Commandos and everything else we got to watch. We got a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot coming up in the next couple of weeks. And also, before we go on, shout out to the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I've only seen it once, but I love that movie. I watched it with my brother like shortly after it came out on digital. And I still got to see Wild Robot, and I do still have to see remind me of the first one you mentioned.
Tick, Tick, Boom.
Tick, Tick, Boom. I still have to see Tick, Tick, Boom. That's been on my
list. You're a music guy and you haven't seen Tick, Tick, Boom?
I know.
Rich?
I love music. I love Andrew Garfield. I got to sit down and watch it sometime because I've heard nothing but great things about it. So I got to see that, and I got to see Wild Robot. But shout out to Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic movie. So funny. And yeah, The Wild Robot will get you right in your feels. Tick Tick Boom, one of my favorite movies of all time. Mostly superheroes joining us nice and early in chat, fresh off of watching Creature Commandos #7. It's always fun when we get some live viewers for these Creature Commandos shows. You know, I don't expect too many live, with it being 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern time on a Thursday. You know, people are at work, but I still want to get these out nice and early so that whenever people do watch the Creature Commandos episode, they're able to tune into the after show. It's ready for them whenever they watch it. So shout out to Mostly Superheroes joining us in live here, hanging out in the chat. Smash the like button if you're watching us on YouTube. Follow the Agents of Fandom on socials, at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. I think we may as well just get into the Creature Commandos now. Now, Rich, I want to know, what have you thought of the series as a whole? Not just episode 7, but you did some catching up leading into this one. What have you thought of the series as a whole, making the DCU debut? We now finally have the whole work to talk about.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying it. I kept up with most of it. I think I watched episode 5 on a weekly basis. So I only had a couple of episodes to catch up on this morning. Things have just been pretty crazy for me the last couple of weeks, but I've really enjoyed this show. Maybe not like my favorite thing that Gunn has ever done, but that's no slight to him at all, because James Gunn puts out some incredible projects. I mean, we've all seen the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, and the Suicide Squad was really good. I've really enjoyed this series. I think it was a fun, first way to ease into the new DCU. I mean, ease in some ways with like these new characters and new storylines and everything, but it got brutal, obviously, because this is a fully R-rated, TVMA rated series with some brutal shit in it. But it was a lot of fun. I love the characters. James Gunn's writing style obviously comes through, and the actors were all fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the voice acting was incredible. I love the formatting. Like, it was a really good television format, with even though it's only 7 episodes, of weaving in the backstories of the characters as they're going through the plot throughout.
I love that.
And it was really, really strong storytelling. Now, it's so sad how it concludes here with just like the most tragic backstory of all the tragic backstories. All of them just make you feel like, damn, these characters have gone through it. But now, leading into Creature Commandos episode 7, the finale here, we finally learn about our poor sweet Nina, the moral compass of the group, the one who has, been keeping them from going off the rails the entire series. And poor sweet Nina has gone through it growing up.
Man, that was messed up. I mean, obviously, every single one of these backstories as you see them is pretty messed up. I watched some of the earlier stuff just like within the last day or two to get caught up in everything. So I saw like the bride's origin, and obviously Weasel's, which was like a beyond heartbreaking. No, but Nina went through some shit, and like that's the one we've been waiting for all season, obviously, because we've kind of gotten one of these per episode. But she just absolutely tragic. I mean, being born with her lungs out of her body, and then having to be transformed into something so crazy, like with amphibian DNA and everything. I mean, it was nuts, but also very, very appropriate for this series.
Yeah, and just the stuff with her parents, whereas you understand where both are coming from, but it still kind of makes you be like, screw this, mom, like that is so nice. But then
seriously,
at the same time, you see her growing up to have just this really, really difficult life that she eventually wants to just leave behind so she can just be on her own, living in the sewers. Why'd you pick the sewers and not like the ocean? I don't know. Maybe saltwater doesn't vibe with her, but like a lake. Don't pick the sewers, Nina. I know there's got to be a better option than that. But
most of this planet is made of water.
Disappointing. She ends up winding herself in jail. Her dad dies. It's just so so sad. This one I think got me in the feels more than any of them, other than maybe the Weasel backstory.
Yeah, I'd say the same for me. Either this one or Weasel, because Weasel was freaking heartbreaking. Like the stuff that he had to go through with all those kids and stuff. And like it's funny, you almost knew his was gonna be pretty like ridiculous and ridiculously sad and everything, just because it's Sean Gunn and everything. But I love both of them, and I really loved all of the way they did the backstories for everybody.
Yeah, I did as well. Outside of since we haven't had you on for any of the other episodes, outside of the Weasel one and the Nina one, which were your favorite ones?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to pick. I got it caught up with the Dr. Phosphorus one. That was beyond heartbreaking when I saw that this morning. I mean, plus the shout out with that super cool Batman tease in there also that we saw from last week. But no,
Batman tease, and also shout out to this perfect timing, Rich, because our trusty co-host who wasn't able to make it today, making a quick appearance in chat. Damon's stopping in, and not only was there a Batman tease last episode, but a Bloodhaven mention in this episode.
Yep.
Who works in Bloodhaven? But both mine and Damon's favorite DC character, Nightwing. So even with Batman Brave and the Bold not looking like it's coming anywhere in the near future, with that already introducing the Damian Wayne, Robin, Damon and I are pretty excited that we're probably getting some Nightwing here in the DCU in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things too that I got to shout out that I love about the series is there's so many new characters. I mean, we saw obviously a couple of them in the Suicide Squad, Weasel and Rick Flag Jr. and everything, and Amanda Waller and all. But this show does such a good job of like setting up the greater DCU that's like out there and everything. I mean, Star City, Gotham, Bloodhaven, all these locations that we know are coming in the future with these characters that we know are coming. And obviously with all those cameos outside of that Batman one, they were all dead in that one flashback, but it just gets you so much more pumped for the way James Gunn is going to build his version of this greater DCU. Because like DC, I mean, we obviously have to compare it to Marvel just because they're the two biggest comic names out there. DC obviously honestly has some more interesting like outer rim like world building stuff honestly on a lot of levels than Marvel does to some degree, just because it's like it's not based in real world stuff. It's based on these cities that are made up specifically for the DCU. And that's what gets me excited for this whole new DCU, like what we're going to see in Metropolis and Superman, and then like you were mentioning with Bloodhaven and Gotham. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's going to be great for both of these companies if they're succeeding at the same time. I don't think this is going to be like a negative one takes away from the other. People are going to choose. No, I think it's going to just build both of them up. I think if they're both successful, it only
July is
good things for
July is good. July is going to be a great measuring stick because, like, as long as those two release dates stick, Superman coming out on the 11th and Fantastic Four coming out on the 25th, I think both of them are going to make bank at the box office, if I'm being really honest. Because, like, Superman's obviously kicking off the new DCU on the theatrical side after Creature Commandos, and then people have been wanting a good Fantastic Four movie for years, and it's the first one of the MCU. I think both of them are in for a really good run, personally, and fingers crossed this is going to be the start of a few good years of like this Marvel DC healthy rivalry between each other.
Yep, couldn't agree more. I am on the same page. Hopefully we get there. I'm really excited about Superman. I'm really excited about Fantastic Four. Really excited about the Marvel Rivals Fantastic Four that's coming here soon as well. Because I need a new support character, and so I'm looking forward to diving into some a little bit of Invisible Woman. And although I haven't seen much of the Human Torch gameplay, I'm excited to dive into that as well. What do you think is going to go on? Let's talk about the Clayface of it all in this episode, because he really provided the biggest twist around, and it kind of worked because I'd seen the whole series before it came out, but I had kind of forgotten how it ended, and so I was getting in a little chat with our friend TCR Thomas Carter Rochester of the Reckless Rebellion podcast and Damon, and we were talking about how involved has Clayface been. You know, like, are we to trust that Cersei's visions are real and she can't make them up? Or was it Clayface the whole time? You know, was Clayface the professor the entire time? That's what I thought. Or
Yeah.
did Clayface step in and replace the professor after she talked to Waller and the team, which is what TCR and Damon were saying. And it turns out they were correct, which we will get to. But the Clayface twists and turns are throwing me off, carrying me for a loop here, because, man, that dude looked pretty damn dead. He's been sitting there for days, but we still know we have a Clayface movie set in the DCU coming.
He looked pretty dead. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, comic book characters are never really dead when you think about it.
Especially one that can like reform themselves.
Exactly. Clayface especially. I have a feeling Clayface is going to stick around for a while. Like not in the DCU, but there's been rumors about him being one of the villains in the Batman 2 under Matt Reeves. And then obviously Alan Tudyk has been all over playing him in Harley Quinn and Creature Commandos. I can't imagine they're going to want to stop using that character anytime soon.
They're doing the Flanagan Clayface movie, Mike Flanagan Clayface movie in the DCU.
Right. Yeah, that too. Yeah, totally didn't even think about that. No, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. I think that one's supposed to come out in like 26, if I'm not mistaken, sometime after Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. But Clayface too is like, he's a villain that really hasn't been used a lot in media, like over the last, I want to say 20 years at least, outside of Harley Quinn. So I can imagine DC is going to want to do a lot with him, considering he's one of the biggest Batman villains out there.
All right, well, let's I agree with you. I think he is going to be making it as well. Ranking these, we've talked about the emotional backstories throughout. It was tough to see Nina go in this episode, Rich.
Yeah.
It was tough to see the one character that it's like, you can like all of these characters regardless, but it's the one character that's not like a bad person. You know,
you're kind of supposed to like her.
Yeah, it's the one that just like out here doing her best. We just see her tragic backstory. She has gone through it. She loses her dad, the one person who ever has truly loved her. Now, she finally finds this newfound family, this new team where she can be happy. She can be loved, Rich. And she's gone.
James Gunn has a way of ripping our hearts out, tearing them apart, and stomping on them for good measure. Like I just watched the other day, I just watched the assembled episode for Guardians 3, and it just reminds me like what he did with Rocket in that movie is some of the most emotional stuff probably in the entire MCU. And if nothing else, James Gunn is a master puppeteer when it comes to people's emotions, because he knows how to work them to a T. And honestly, at this point, I think we should have honestly seen Nina coming. Like we maybe should have seen her as the one we knew wasn't going to make it, because she is the most, I don't want to say vulnerable of the bunch, but the one who is the most like pure-heartedly good out of all of them, out of this Creature Commandos bunch, who is, you know, in a little bit of ways a bunch of assholes, but and Nina.
Very, very true. And honestly, it really makes me so interested to see how Superman is going to play out, because we know he can write very emotional content. But I remember saying when he took over the DCU, like when this was all being announced that he was taking on the new job, I remember saying like, you know, he's a really big comic book fan. So I think this is going to be a good choice, because, you know, he'll still do the Suicide Squad, Creature Commandos related things. But with projects like Batman and Superman, he's such a big comic book fan. I think he's going to find someone who really knows how to do that and really do a good job. I don't think he's going to be doing those ones. And I was wrong, because clearly he's doing the first one, Superman. And he's talked about how big of a Superman fan he is and all these comics he collected and read growing up. So don't get me wrong. I trust him to do a good job. But it's the first one we've seen that it's going to be a different movie. You know? Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad is almost the same thing, just with, you know, some bad people and twisting it, or like twisting the storyline around. But it's a very similar found family group of misfits getting together. It's comedic, it's emotional. And now Creature Commandos, the exact same thing. It's basically just they've continued to get darker through these projects, but they're the exact same found family, getting together to never have been as strong or as loved alone, and now they're getting together and they've never been better. You want to bring it back? That's Scooby-Doo too. Like he did the Scooby-Doo. That's that too. And so it's going to be totally different to see how he handles Superman, because I trust him to do a very good job. I trust his love for the character, his knowledge of the character, and his filmmaking ability. But it is going to be interesting when we've seen basically this one exact formula over and over again to see how he switches it up to this one.
Yeah, and it's also funny too, thinking about it. He could almost do a little bit of that in Superman too, like knowing the characters that we have coming, because we've got the Nathan Fillion, Guy Gardner version of Green Lantern in there. We've got Hawk Girl, we've got Mr. Terrific. So they're going to have their own interactions with, David Cornsweet, Superman and everything. But I totally agree with you. I'm really looking forward to seeing what James Gunn does with a more like, I don't want to say classic, like chalk comic book movie like Superman, just because, it's Superman. You could do a lot of different things with it, even though there's been so many of them. But I'm really excited to see the James Gunn twist on it, rather than like he had to introduce people to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody really knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were when that came out in 2014, and now they're household names. In some ways, a similar thing to the Suicide Squad. I mean, there'd been obviously the 2016 one, but he did something totally new and totally different with it, with a few of the characters that were there before. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with a character like Superman, who is like arguably he's on the Mount Rushmore of superheroes, like across American comic book history. It should be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. And also, shout out to the Scooby-Doo movies. I mean, those are just my jam. Back in the day, actually, a funny story. Carlos will appreciate this, because Carlos is our guy who like just happens to know like all these ridiculously famous people and like has all
he's just a few degrees of separation from every single person, and that's famous.
I have one of the Scooby-Doo ones. I went to theater camp with the kids of the guy who directed that movie, Roger Gosnell.
There you go. So there you go.
So shout out to the Gosnells. Shout out to the Scooby-Doo movies. Just classic. I wish they had made a third one, because those first two movies to me were perfect.
Yeah, and Matthew Lillard, just an absolutely perfect Shaggy.
Like all of them.
All of them are just like locked into those perfect roles.
There could not have been a more perfect live action Scooby-Doo cast than what we got, to me.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. I want to know, like, so I was having a conversation with Damon with TCR about like how we thought this finale was gonna play out, but I want to know what you thought when you're watching. Nina's going to kill the princess. They think that they should stop it because it was bad intel. She ends up dying. The princess stabs her. What's going through your mind? What do you think is what are you cheering for? What are you hoping for when you're watching this?
What's funny is like I was being pulled in so many different directions. Like during the episode itself, I went like 3 or 4 different ways watching the episode just on its own. Like I thought at like a couple points they were definitely going to kill her. I thought they were maybe going to try to save her anyway, just because Waller, told them not to kill her and everything. But then when Nina died, I mean, that just threw everything for a loop, and I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to save the princess and everything, but then she gets killed anyway, with the bride and all that stuff. So that's another thing that Gunn is really good at, bringing us along all these twists and turns, and like you never know exactly what you think is going to happen. Like you can predict stuff, obviously you can try to predict stuff out, but James Gunn knows how to throw people for a loop.
He really does. And that's kind of where I was sitting there of like, there's 10-15 minutes left in this episode. Something's still gonna happen. Yeah. I don't trust, like I was originally on the page of it was Clayface the whole time and they're being set up.
Right.
But as soon as it was too quick, I was like, I can't be right anymore, because this is too early for me to be right. Like I needed a twist before it, and then the right thing being the surprise. But I know there's a surprise coming, and so I don't think I'm going to end up being right, and that was the case. Clayface was working with Princess Ileana all along. She was trying to destroy the world, and we get the really cool reveal scene with her and Bride Bride slowly talking to her. She's trying to rub it in a little bit. She's gloating, and Bride just straight up like solves the puzzle. She has been one of the most intriguing characters throughout, and the most like impressive character, I think, throughout the whole story. She goes toe to toe with Cersei. She ends up kind of becoming this reluctant leader of the team, doesn't care about anybody other than herself, and then she makes a bunch of friends, none that mean more to her than Nina. And when she loses Nina, she stays composed, she gets her vengeance, and she solves the problem. She takes out Princess Ileana, which turns out to be the correct thing to do. I love me some Bride. Bye-bye, evil. Like, this is what I have in my notes. It just says, bye-bye, evil princess. And Bride ends up saving the day and getting her own new team.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to see where she goes. And shout out Indria Varma for the voiceover. Like that's, I mean, obviously we've seen her in a few things over the years. She was in Obi-Wan Kenobi. She was in Mission Impossible 7 recently. This is one of the best things that I've seen her in quite some time. She did a fantastic job as the Bride. I mean, shout out to the whole cast. The whole cast was fantastic with their voiceover roles, and James Gunn did a great job with the casting, and obviously the performances came out through and everything. But the Bride in particular was a standout in this series. She had something special in almost every episode, and I'm really excited to see where she goes as, like you said, the reluctant leader of this team with a few of the characters that we know already, a couple of fan favorites that we see in the facility at the very end once we get into the super spoilers, which is great. But I'm excited to see where she goes.
Like you said, we'll get into that right now, and we have Weasel and Dr. Phosphorus and Bride from the OGs making their way to the new team. Plus, G.I. Robot is back with a brand new body, ready to kill some Nazis, drinking some motor oil out of a mug. We get King Shark Nanoe back looking very similar to how he is in the Suicide Squad. So we don't know for sure yet that this is, the exact same guy, or if they're switching some things up from the Suicide Squad yet. But King Shark,
if it's not, I'm going to be really
from the Suicide Squad to the Creature Commandos.
If it's not, I'm going to be pissed because I loved King Shark in the Suicide Squad. I think I watched that one like within the last week or two, just for fun. And King Shark remains to this day one of my favorite parts of the Suicide Squad. I mean, Sylvester Stallone just nailed that, and James Gunn did a really good job. So I'm really excited to see what happens on a Creature Commandos team with King Shark on it. I cannot wait to see where that goes.
Couldn't agree more. I'm really looking forward to another season of this show. I think when I wrote it in my review at the beginning of the season, and I stand by it as it's come to a close, this was a really good appetizer for the main course of the DCU. Now, Superman is the true debut. It's the real beginning of this. It's not the first project, but it's the real true launch of the DCU. This felt like an appetizer. It didn't satisfy me, like it didn't go, oh, I'm done now. I'm good. I'm ready to wait for the next thing. No, I still really want Superman, and I want it tomorrow. I can wait till July, but I want it tomorrow. This felt like a taste. Something that, it tastes good. I enjoyed it, and I'm ready for the next thing. And that's really what I got out of Creature Commandos. It was fun. It was nothing groundbreaking and or mind-shattering, but it was a really good TV show that sets the tone for the new DCU.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And also the thing about this one too is that these episodes are all short. I'd say in total this thing's probably 2.5, 3 hours of content, if that. So like you said, it was a perfect appetizer for what we're getting for this new universe. Obviously nothing that's gonna we're still waiting for July. Like I can't wait to see what DC does with trailers and stuff. I can only imagine they're probably gonna do something at the Super Bowl, like a new trailer or something for Superman when the Super Bowl comes around. But there is so much to look forward to with Superman coming out. And the best part too is that it's going to tie back at least a little bit to Creature Commandos, because Rick Flag is going to be in Superman, and we've got Frank Grillo coming back. We've already seen him in set photos, so that's going to be really interesting to see how he transfers over, like from this crazy team of insane creatures to, you know, working with Superman and, you know, being in that universe.
My thought process is that essentially Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr. is going to be the Wong of the DCU. You know, he's not the Nick Fury. He's not the one that's literally putting the pieces together, but he's going to be the guy that shows up in all of the different things, reminding everyone this is a connected universe.
I would be so happy if he got to do that, especially because like what some of the stuff he said about Marvel and everything. I think they could have used him like even more as Crossbones with Marvel. I hope he gets that chance with DC.
Fine, like I get what he was saying, but like I don't think I needed more Crossbones. Like I thought he went out in a pretty appropriate way.
Yeah, I mean I liked it. I mean I thought he worked great for Civil War. But I do love me some Frank Grillo, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with Rick Flag. And I hope you're right. I hope he is the Wong of the DCU.
Final thoughts, rating out of 10 for Creature Commandos.
Out of 10, I'm thinking probably like 7.5, 8-ish. I want to say it's really good. It's like you said, it's the perfect appetizer. It's not gonna leave you completely satisfied or completely full. But I thought James Gunn did a really good job with it. Nothing earth-shattering or game-changing for the superhero genre. It's stuff we've seen before with a couple of new twists in there. But I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to going through it again. How about you?
Yeah, basically nothing to add. I was going to go 8 out of 10 and very similar thoughts. I think it got the job done. It was a very good show. Nothing that is going to break the genre wide open for years to come and show us something brand new that we've never seen before, like you said. But a very, very good series of television that I enjoyed from start to finish. So looking forward to more Creature Commandos in the future, and looking forward to more DCU content in the future as well. We got a lot of good content here coming with the Agents of Fandom as well. So that's why you want to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're watching us on YouTube. On Tuesday, we will be covering the season finale of Skeleton Crew on Disney Plus immediately after it airs on Tuesday. So that'll be 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern time. We got our friend Rachel Leishman joining us for that one. We're going to be talking about the season finale and the entire season as a whole for Skeleton Crew. And then we have so much great stuff coming. Captain America Brave New World is only a month and some change away. We have, and we're going to have some interviews coming for that one. Woo! Speaking of interviews, in February is also Invincible season, the next season starting up. We're going to have some interviews for that as well. We're going to be covering each episode. We have Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man only 3 weeks away. We will be doing live shows covering every episode. And then in March, it's Daredevil Born Again. So the content is not going to stop all throughout 2025. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have hit the like button so we can grow this community. Rich, do you have any articles coming out that you want to share? And where can the people find you on socials?
Yeah, you can find me on socials right here at Richard Nebens across all socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everything. Nothing too big coming out in the immediate future. I did do a pretty cool interview for the Direct recently with Earth Abide star Jessica Francis Dukes. Got to talk to her about her show. She's been in Marvel before. She was in Jessica Jones season 3. I got to talk to her a little bit about like possibly coming back to do more Marvel stuff down the road. Nothing too big in the immediate future, but as I mentioned before, I've got this San Diego Comic-Con cruise that I'm going on at the very beginning of February. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to maybe be able to get an interview or two there, even while I'm on vacation. But the rest of the vacation, as my friend Matt Remke from the Direct told me, I'm going to be turning off my phone, disconnecting from everything for a couple of weeks. Although I am going to see Captain America Brave New World while I'm in Florida, comes out while I'm there. So we're going to do opening night. I think we get back from our second cruise the day before it comes out. So I'm definitely going to be seeing that. Looking forward to keeping up with everything. It's going to be a weird dark period for me. I won't lie, early February. But after that, I'm obviously going to be back going full force, going full machine. It's going to be fun.
Thank you so much for joining us again. A last minute edition, but I appreciate you stepping up, helping out.
Anytime.
And we'll definitely get you back on here in the future, whether it be for Spider-Man, for Daredevil, whatever it is. But we'll make it happen again ASAP as soon as you get back from your trip. Thank you so much, Rich. Thank you to everyone who joined us in the chat. Once again, smash the like button. We'll be back on Tuesday for some Skeleton Crew coverage of the finale. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace out.